I'm a Pepsi person.
You want to cut me more? To me, it's good.
I used to like half.
I don't remember that.
I still do.
I think it's half.
Welcome to our regular board meeting, Tuesday, February the 18th. We'd like to welcome everyone that is here from our staff and our community, and especially our students. So if you'll join me, we'll open with an invocation, followed by the national anthem. We'll be able to hear Savannah Thurston, who's a senior and a Carlton County High School singer. Following that, we'll have the pledge. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you that in your word, where two or three are gathered, you are here in our midst. And we gather, Father, seeking your wisdom as you tell us in Proverbs 4, and we know your wisdom is the highest thing we can seek. Father, we gather humbly, wanting to lead your school district and wanting your children in Carlton County to bring you glory. At this time, Father, we want you to be with us and to guide us. And we want to pray together as one. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam?
JAG students to tell us a little bit about JAG, and of course their sponsors that we know work hard to help them with all of the different trips and things they're learning, and we welcome you.
Good afternoon. My name is Marlena Evans, and I am a junior at Colleton County High School. Colleton County School District will prepare every student to graduate with a 21st century education to be globally competitive for their chosen college and or career path.
Good afternoon. My name is Miles Bowman. I am a freshman and the Vice President of Social Awareness for Jobs for America's Graduates at Colleton County High School. Jobs for America's Graduates is a state-based national nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting young people of our nation with great promise. JAG is a student-led and prepares our students to become college and career ready. Our vision is that every young person is prepared for future success. Our specialists, Ms. Elena Lane and Mr. Sean Johnson, support our students to succeed in education, employment, and life.
Good afternoon. My name is Haley Mayer, and I'm a senior at Colleton County High School. I serve as the president of the JAG Career Association for the past 2 years. JAG has impacted me towards my future goals and has helped me gain my soft skills and help me towards my future goals in life. As I come to the end, I wish my fellow members the best on this journey. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Heather Robinson, and I am currently a senior at Colleton County High School, and I am also proud to be a part of the JAG program at Colleton County High School. I have been in JAG for 3 years, and JAG has taught me many things, many goals, many skills that I will use throughout my life as I continue to experience and as I continue to enhance in my success. Thank you.
We were glad to see you were pictured with the governor recently, and we appreciate you representing Colleton County. You did a wonderful job. Thank you to your sponsors.
Thank you.
If any of their parents are here, we appreciate you being here to support them. We know the wonderful things they're learning through that program. At this time, our board likes to remember the civility pledge that we pledge to uphold to according to our state guidelines. So let's join together. I pledge to build a stronger and more effective school board by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of my school district. Thank you. At this time, the agenda is before us. It's been emailed for us to review. It's been posted publicly, and I will listen for a motion that we approve this agenda.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve this agenda.
A second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about the agenda that's before you? Hearing none, all those in favor, right hand. Thank you. Let the minutes reflect we have a full board. Thank you all for making arrangements from your schedule to be here tonight so we can conduct the business of the school district. Moving along, we have minutes to approve from our January 28th meeting, our February 11th meeting. So I'll take a motion if there is one to approve those minutes.
Madam Chair, make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented at January 28th as well as February the 11th.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes that were sent to us to review? Hearing none, thank you, Ms. Hyman. All those in favor of approving those minutes, right hand. Approved. Moving down our agenda, we want to make mention of our calendars so that we're all prepared. Next Tuesday, as you know, the time of the year that we're in, entering the spring, we sometimes have to budget time for extra meetings in addition to the 2. So there are needs that need to come before the board for next Tuesday at 5 p.m. And I can call that as a chair, but I'd rather it be by motion of 4 of us. So for next Tuesday, February the 25th at 5, do we have a motion that we have that meeting on our calendars?
Madam Chair, make a motion that we hold the time for a budget work session next Tuesday, February the 25th at 5 p.m. here in the boardroom.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about us having a special court meeting for our budget work session and any action that we need to take next Tuesday? Hearing none, all those in favor of putting that on our calendar, show of right hand. Thank you. In addition to that, as we begin the month of March, like I said, there's action that might need to come before the board, so we want to have time dedicated for what might be needed. So if you can reserve Monday, March the 3rd, that would be a good time at 5. And the county council is on that Tuesday, March the 4th, where we have some students being recognized. So that's why that was not on a Tuesday night. So action that we might have a special board meeting on our calendars for March 3rd, Monday.
Madam Chair, can I just ask for maybe clarification as to why we need, if we're having a special call meeting on February the 25th, and then that following week, March the 11th, will be our committee of the whole, why do we need the Monday, March 3rd meeting?
Is there a motion that we, before we talk about that, I need a motion and a second to have discussion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we have a meeting on Monday, March the 3rd at 5 o'clock.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Nixon's a second. I just second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Thank you, Mr. Arnold, here now. We have a motion and a second, and now for discussion, to make ourselves available to the administration and for some reports that won't be coming in until the end of the month. That is the reason why I feel that we need to have that Monday. If you can't be here, as long as we have a quorum, that's why I'm bringing it for the board. I could do it as a chairman, but I'd rather do it as a majority of the board, in case there's action that we need to present to the board. And then the Tuesday would be county council is why it's not on a Tuesday. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of being available on Monday, March the 3rd, for a special meeting, will show right hands. All opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. So just to make mention, if you can put on your calendars, county council meeting is on Tuesday, March the 4th at 6 p.m. Our CNA students will be recognized tonight here in the county council agenda on Tuesday, March the 4th. As part of my chairman's report, I just want to thank all those who participated in our winter sports, and I know we're beginning our spring sports. We recently had appreciation for our SROs, and we always appreciate them. It doesn't take a special day. We appreciate them every day. And our band recently had some awards you might see published, and we appreciate all of that communication going out. Our Bells Robotics team, and I know I'm leaving out some things, but there's so many things to celebrate, and I saw a retired teacher today that appreciates all of those positive things that go out about our district, and we appreciate, Ms. Williams, your initiative for people to show things that maybe we're not publicly putting out of how they know Team Colleton is a place to work and to be proud of. So let's continue to let our light shine and tell our story. Moving along our agenda to recognitions, every member of Team Colleton works for kids and makes important contributions towards becoming a world-class school system. And Ms. Williams is going to bring student recognitions followed by some special recognitions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair Strobel, and I'd like to say good evening, board members. And I'd also like to say good evening to the public, to our district and school staff, and our community members. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. This portion of our agenda gives me great pleasure because I always like to recognize our students that have gone above and beyond. And tonight, we have several students that we are going to recognize. So when I call your name, if you would please come forward, and then I'm going to read just a little about you that your principal has submitted, and ask for your parents to stand if they're here with us in the audience. So we're going to start with Bells Elementary School, and if we have Alea Williams with us, 5th grade student at Bells, please stand at this time. Okay, not with us tonight. All right, we're going to move to Blackstreet Early Childhood Center. Serenity Gore. Serenity Gore. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to Forest Hills Elementary. Oh, she is? Oh, awesome, awesome. Let's give Serenity a round of applause. So I'm going to read a little bit about Serenity. Serenity is a kindergarten student at Blackstreet Early Childhood Center, and she is so kind to everyone. She is sweet. She does her work without complaint, and she helps others when needed. She always participates and is very dependable. Her principal and her teacher says they can always depend on her to do extra things. She's doing a wonderful job on all of her assessments, including her I-Ready assessments, and she is in the highest group. They are so proud, they can't say enough about her, and they certainly love Serenity. So let's give Serenity joy. All right, our next student is from Forest Hills Elementary School. Oh, and before I move on, Serenity, if Serenity's parents, if you're here, if you would please stand for us, please. All right, we have Kiana Campbell from Forest Hills Elementary. She's here, she's coming up. Let's give her a hand. Kiana is in 4th grade. She is extremely kind to her teachers and classmates, and she's always ready to help others. Her thoughtful and caring attitude towards others is definitely one of her top qualities. She keeps progressing academically and is always eager to learn. She has endured and conquered challenges as a young girl, but this has not stopped her from achieving. She's a loving person, and Forest Hills is so happy to have you as one of their Cougar Cubs. So let's give Serenity another round. All right, next we have from Hendersonville Elementary School, and let me back up. Parents of Kiana, if you're here, please stand. Kiana's parents. Okay. All right, from Hendersonville Elementary School, Monroe Herndon. Monroe Herndon, he's here. He's coming up. All right, Monroe. So Monroe is a 5th grade student at Hendersonville Elementary School, and he is very well behaved. He is a top tier student that makes great grades. He is helpful to his peers, and he has very good manners. When he completes his assignments, he will execute another task, giving his maximum effort. So we want to say congratulations again to Monroe for being above and beyond. And we ask that Monroe's parents please stand. All right. Next we have from Colleton County Middle School, Jamie Sanders. Jamie Sanders. Okay, Jamie's not with us tonight. Next we have with us from Colleton County High School, Nikki Gabrielle. Nikki is with us. Nikki is a 9th grade student at Colleton County High School. She is polite. and she is very hardworking. She goes above and beyond asking clarifying questions, reviewing rubrics and expectations, and ensuring that she puts forth her best effort at all times. Apart from having amazing work ethic, she is also smart and nice to everyone. She has high standards for herself and continues to push herself to grow more every day. One cannot describe adequately in words what a wonderful student she is. So let's give Nikki Gabrielle another round. And we ask that Nikki's parents please stand. All right. And next we have from TCTC, Auntiana Lemix. Auntiana, she's here. So Auntiana is a 12th grade student at TCTC in Carlton County High School. She has demonstrated her leadership among her peers and her willingness to dive into any project she has been given in her automotive technology class. She stands out in her ability to recognize the importance of the skills she is learning and has on more than one occasion served as a representative of the class in speaking to visitors and potential future students. So let's give Auntiana Lennox another round. And if Auntiana's parents are here, if you would please stand at this moment. Please stand. All right. And last but not least, we have Mr. Terrell Hayward from the Adult Learning Center. Yes. So Mr. Hayward, Mr. Hayward has demonstrated academic gain on the test of adult basic education, the TABE test, and by passing the GED science test. Terrell is an exemplary role model for his fellow students. He is dependable and always attentive. Mr. Hayward plans to serve in the South Carolina National Guard upon graduation. Let's give Mr. Hayward. And if you have your parents or family members here, if you would please stand. Awesome. Again, thank you, students. Thank you for going above and beyond. And we are going to get your pictures made. We're going to have our pictures made, and then we want you to shake the hands of our board members, okay? Awesome job. All right, congratulations again, students, and keep up the great work. All right, now, we have a special recognition today, tonight, and I am pleased to announce that we had a successful class of CNAs this semester. We had 16 out of 16 to pass the CNA certification exam. And I just want to say that this program is really dear and near to my heart because my daughter, when she was in high school, went went through the CNA program, and now she is a nurse and she's doing very well. So this really helps prepare you for the future, and I am so happy that you seized the moment in order to prepare you for your future. So tonight, we want to recognize our students, our CNA students, and they are as follows. Andrea Gatson, if you come forward, please. Autumn Klinner. Chase Sherrod. Dakota KZ. Gustavo Sanchez. Kevin Robinson. Jakayla Brown. Jordan Fishburne. Courtney McDonald. Madison Murray. Jade Edmondson. Patience Herndon. Samaya Frazier. Shania Bell. Sumaya Hagerson. And last but not least, Taylor Lyons. And we also want to recognize the instructors. If the instructors are here in the audience, would you please stand? Thank you for the awesome work that you do with our students. And students, I want to shake every hand. Recognitions for tonight.
No, ma'am.
Hello? No public input? Okay. Thank Any old business that needs to come before the board? Any new business? Please note that the policy committee has decided that they would like to meet on Tuesday, February 25th, right before the other meetings that are already approved. So we'll have a 4 o'clock policy meeting. Thank you all for clearing your calendars for that. Policy committee, we look forward to that, and then we'll be ready for any action you might need us to take in March. We have no policy items for first reading, but if you look at second reading, we are ready to take action on policy CCA from the policy committee. And we have a first reading on the Compton County School District organizational chart with the minor changes that were presented. So I entertain a motion for accepting that policy.
Madam Chair, I move we accept policy CCA of the Compton County School District organizational chart.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about the minor changes that were made?
I just am trying to find the latest, chart, and it's not in Board Docs, Ms. Holman, and so, that could be uploaded for reference. I know that there's an email version, but it's not in Board Docs. I think it was a change from first reading to second reading.
We can make that update, and you'd ask that it be on the list of policies we were reviewing. It was correctly displayed there for public view.
Pull it up just to make sure. Ms. Holman, was it placed on the website?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second, and time for discussion on the floor. Hearing none, all those in favor of passing that policy so that it's official in our board policy book, show of right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, policy committee and board, for getting those changes made that the administration requested. Moving on to our superintendent's report. We're so thankful for the core value that effective leadership supports learning and optimal performance for all students. So Superintendent Williams will entertain the report that you have for us, as well as we have to approve some overnight field trip requests. Always happy when our students get opportunities. And we'll have an HR report and a finance report underneath superintendent report.
All right, thank you again, Chair Strobel. And tonight, I have 2 presentations that are going to come before you tonight. At last week's meeting, I shared with you that I've developed a parent forum. And this forum consists of parents from our elementary, middle, and high school levels. Tonight, we have one of our parents here with us tonight that's a part of this group. Her name is Ms. Taisha Ridley, and she's standing in the back. And I'm going to ask her to come up, and she is going to present some brief information with you about our newly formed parent forum.
Thank you and welcome, and I think you're a former student, correct? Ma'am, former student?
Yes, and a parent.
Yes.
Alrighty. I do want to preface this by saying bear with me. I probably haven't done a PowerPoint in like 20 years since high school, so I'm starting all over. So our group is the Parent Forum. Tonight I'm going to be talking, it's going to be It's okay. I'm going to be talking about the purpose, the why, the what, the who, and the how. Okay. So the purpose of the Parent Forum is to build a stronger community. This forum is a space designed for open communication, building a supportive network, and encouraging active parental involvement. By collaborating with students, teachers, and other members of the district, we can customize the best path forward to ensure the success and well-being of our students. The why. Being a part of the forum gives us an opportunity to get together on an ongoing basis and have our say on what the district is doing well, but also suggest ideas of how things could be improved. The what. During the meetings, we discuss anything related to improving our school and further developing the partnership between the school and the parents. The meetings are informal and they're an opportunity for open discussion. this parent forum, in the easiest terms, gives everybody a seat at the table. It helps us to bridge the gap between the parents, the students, and the schools. We know that all the decisions that are made within the school, be it the board, superintendent, or the individual schools, affect everybody differently depending on where you are on the list as a student, a parent, or a staff member. So this gives us a better opportunity to see how those decisions affect everybody, and then also hear how we can maybe tweak them to work better or easier, and then also to hear different viewpoints of things that we can do differently based on different schools as well, because each school has their own group, of kids and staff that this is affecting as well. Can you scoot back one more? Okay. During the meetings, it's not an opportunity to discuss concerns and complaints involving individual children, families, or members of the staff. We like it to keep it very general based, no names or specific things within the school if it doesn't affect as a whole. We want to keep those things as private as possible being discussed within the administration, and this is more of a chance to brainstorm, bring ideas together, talk about things that are going on within the school, and also to kind of give us an idea of things that may be going on in other schools that we can bring. Maybe Forest Hills has something going on that would be a good idea to bring over to Northside. So it kind of gives us a chance to bring all of the good ideas together and figure out what's working and what's not without going into the privacy of the parents and the students. The who. So this is basically who can join. Parents and caregivers of students enrolled in the district, school administrators and teachers, community members, local organizations, and district officials and staff. We really want to bring everybody to the table. The more the merrier. The more ideas that we can come up with, the more viewpoints that we can hear is the best. Not only to discuss things that we can do, but also to discuss how we can get information out to others who may not be able to participate in this group specifically, as far as our communication, how are we getting the information out, how are we wording the information when it's coming out, is it clear, do we need to change some things? It's best to just have everybody in the community involved so we can reach all the boundaries of the district. How can you sign up? So we are going to have a school representative, and that information is going to be at the front office with an administrator or the front desk, so that you can get in touch with them, find out when the meetings are, if anything is going on at the next meeting, so you can be prepared. So you can reach out to your school, you can call the district office and ask to speak to Ms. Angela Green, or if you happen to just know somebody who is already on the forum, you can reach out to them. Social media, running in at the car rental line, whatever, we don't mind. Come up to us, ask us questions, because we are trying to just get everybody that we can involved. And I think that's it. Okay. So one of the things that we have going on, I'm just going to pull it up really quick. One of the programs that we are going to be starting is the Colleton County School Lunch Buddy Program. In short, it just gives the community the opportunity to help mentor a student. Just give a little bit of your time. It can be 30 minutes to just sit with them at lunch, talk with them. You will go through the process of as if you were volunteering for anything else. So you would contact the school district office, go through that process. Once you're cleared, then you will have kind of like a questionnaire to see what your likes and interests are, so that we can pair you up with someone, with a student who, you guys would have something to talk about, so you're not just sitting at lunch, staring around. But pair you up with a student that would match well with your likes, and you just spend a little time with them, get to know them, see how things are going with them, and then it would be lovely if you could then join the parent forum, because you can bring all of those concerns and viewpoints back and help us just make things better. And that's all.
Thank you. You're welcome. Madam Chair, if I may, I just wanted to say, Ms. Whitley is an engaged community member and parent. I run her regularly grocery shop at the same time. But we also are active with our children's school, chaperoning at the same time, going to meetings at the same time. And it's especially important for me as a parent and school board member to see these people actively involved. And she's always one that I know her children's schools can call on. So just want to say thank you for being willing to present this evening, but also your willingness to be an engaged and active parent. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank Ms. Whitley as well.
And all of the parents that are part of our parent forum, you know, we talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. It's not a sugarcoat type organization. They share their viewpoints. We talk about, you know, the good things that we do in our district, and then we talk about those things that we need to improve. So I just want to thank Ms. Whitley, and I want to thank all of the parents that are part of our group. And we want our group to grow. We want it to be larger, to get more viewpoints so that we can know how we can make our district the best district it can possibly be. So thank you again. And then also in my presentation tonight, last week I presented to you some formative assessment data, and there were several questions concerning about the practices, the testing practices at the high school, more so EOC classes, but more so the other classes as well, EOC and other content areas. So tonight, we've invited Principal Bodison, along with Ms. Lydia Culler, an instructional facilitator at the high school, and we're going to ask, I think Ms. Culler is going to do the presentation, for her to come up at this time.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So on behalf of the high school, I am coming tonight to just share some information with you regarding our instructional support practices as well as our testing procedures and protocols specifically targeted for the spring 2025. So I tried to paint a big picture for you first to show you what we're doing for the school at large, not just isolated to our EOC courses. I wanted to make sure that we gave you a valid picture of what we're doing to support all of our staff and all of the students as a whole, and then I'm going to dive in a little bit more specifically to Ms. Wicken. I know you had some questions about our EOC courses, and start with the at-large vision first and foremost. So we have 5 broad outliers that I wanted to specify for you, and they include our instructional learning walks, instructional coaching, professional development sessions, and weekly PLC meetings and GVC revisions. And we'll give you some more specific information in depth on each of those. The first thing that we are implementing very, very specifically, we started last year, are instructional learning walks. And these are designed for teams of teachers to go and observe other veteran teachers and also our newer teachers to discuss key takeaways, provide insight into various instructional strategies and different teaching methodologies. And the way that it works is they rotate through 3 or 4, sometimes 2 classes, and then we debrief together so that they can share what they've learned, what they thought was interesting, what they could utilize in their own teaching realms. And I take them and they see different content areas. So just because you're a science teacher doesn't mean you're just going to science. You might be going to ELA and anywhere throughout the building. I love to take them to our CNA classes actually, because I like for our teachers to see what it means to have authentic real world learning experiences, and that's one of the best ones we can showcase. So that's one of the things that we're doing for instructional support. The second is instructional coaching, and you're probably all familiar with what an instructional coach does, but for the audience's sake, instructional coaching is one-on-one coaching and mentoring sessions that we do with teachers. These sessions are based on observations made by either mentor teachers, by building admin staff, and or their department chairs, and they can either be directive or facilitated. And what that means is that it can either be the teacher led based on what they feel like they want to grow in, the goals that they're establishing for themselves, or if there's a specific need that is brought to our attention or what we see from our observations, those coaching sessions can be more directed to say, hey, this is something that really needs to be improved upon based on what we've seen thus far. And the instructional coaching plan for this semester specifically that I'm in at the moment was developed with the expertise of Dr. Perry, and I'll give you a little bit more detail about who she is in just a moment. Based on some PD sessions that we did in the fall. And so the coaching cycles have been designed at the beginning of this semester to support those initiatives from our PD sessions to help the teachers utilize those instructional strategies to improve content and curriculum across the board. And that leads me into the next point with professional development. So you all asked specifically what we're doing to help promote growth and to help do things a little bit differently, because education is ever evolving and ever changing, and what worked for one class may not work 3 hours later for another, so you have to be constantly aware where you are. So we have met and worked with Dr. Perry several times throughout the year. She's worked with our district off and on for many years. I would venture to go back and say maybe even as far back as 8 to 10 years ago was when she first visited. But she is a curriculum specialist, and so she has come, she's worked specifically this year with our ELA teachers to help support the new standards and the adoption of their new curriculum. And then she's also come and worked with our science and social studies teachers in a session that she titled Rigor, Engagement, and the Science of Learning, and how to help promote engagement in those classes and to introduce some more learner-centered practices to help what we do a deeper learning sense of the content. Outside of Dr. Perry, we are also in the early stages, I think Ms. Hedden, we need to follow up, but we are working with the State Department on some professional learning opportunities, specifically Ms. Whitkin, you mentioned U.S. history and ELA, and inviting some state representatives to work with our teachers specifically to look at what we are revising from last semester. The State Department also offers pre-recorded PLO sessions that are actually fairly short. Some range from 10 minutes to about the length of an hour. And so we're going to implement those in our weekly PLCs so that we can watch and dissect those as a team to help kind of shift our thinking and see what we already know we're doing well, but then what, based on those PLOs, are showing us that we need to be doing a little differently. And they're released at different times. Some were released in the early stages of August and September based on last year's school data. Others are just released throughout the semester as they receive feedback from teacher forums. So those are ever growing and ever changing. We are also providing professional development for our English teachers, specifically with their content representative, or the curriculum representative, excuse me, for StudySync, which is our newly adopted materials for the State Department. And then with Math Nation for our algebra, for math in general, but if you are not aware, math is getting new standards this coming year. It will be full implementation. So we're working on curriculum provisions for that as well. And so it's ever changing and ever growing, and so that leads us into our two others that work hand in hand, which are PLCs and our GBC, which is our Guaranteed Viable Curriculum. So PLCs meet weekly. These are our content teams, and they are a team of teachers that work with the same course, but they change each fall to spring. So right now we are revamping from fall and moving into spring revisions. The GBC it was started many, many years ago, and I could not tell you how long ago it has been now, but I do know that it was vetted through Dr. Perry. She's the one that led us in the early stages of it, and then we've had other content area experts that have come in to help us. And what that does is it looks at our pacing guides, our scopes and our sequences, our assessments, both formative and summative, and correlating with state-released test blueprints in standard sets. So it's a living document that's constantly revised, and as you know, we continually have this ebb and flow with storms and in school and then out of school and interruptions. So So the GDC is always a living, breathing document because what's on the calendar one day in 3 weeks might have to be combined into a third of a lesson versus a 2-day lesson based on our semester constraints. So this semester, specifically going back to history and English 2, I wanted to highlight that the very first week after Christmas break, we met and really looked at, I had the teachers reflect on what they knew they had done well, what they felt really strongly about, and based on EOC scores, which I know are embargoed still, but the teachers know their scores. And so what they really feel was a struggle, and we have talked in depth about what we know worked well for them and what we would like to utilize to navigate the challenges that they experienced last semester. So that's an ongoing conversation right now that we're having as this week is our first formative set of benchmarks. And so that will really be a gateway into where we are with the modifications we've made thus far. But our PLCs are the opportunity for the teachers to come and show their professional strengths and to identify their strengths with also their weaknesses. And it's a place for them to be vulnerable. They come in and they reflect, and it's a place for them to really work as a team to strengthen one another individually, but then also as a whole. Okay, so that's going to lead me into more specifically the formative and summative assessment practices. And I know, Mr. Irwin, you expressed a little bit of concern about teaching to the test, so I wanted to clarify because while I know she was sharing benchmark data, that is only utilized for the EOC courses, and I'm going to elaborate on that in a little bit. So I wanted to talk about what the formative and summative assessment practices school-wide look like before I dive into just the benchmark information from last week. So we have like 3 broad ideas I'd like to share with you: common course assessments, and then predictive assessment benchmarks. And I'm going to talk at length about our data analysis protocol so that will kind of clarify where we go and what we use all this information for. So all courses have common formative and summative assessments, and they look differently from each individual course, because if you know about high school, we have 11 different departments and anywhere from 5 to 15 different course offerings within each one. So assessments look different all across the board. And I could not even begin to tell you specifically how many different platforms we have. I listed some off the top of my head, but our CTE courses have a program through ICEV, which is a state CAPE license. We have Authentico, which is for our world languages. We have Mastery Connect, which is utilized for English and math. We have Math Nation, we have Delta Math, we have Progress Learning. The list is endless. And they are all tools for formative and summative assessments, but it's not specifically to a test. It is designed to make sure we are targeting individual standards and that students are mastering individual standards. So while it sounds very broad, it's actually very, very finite, and it's very targeted information. And it can range from a simple 5-question bell ringer to a full unit test in those assessment platforms. But the main thing is that we want to ensure that all of our departments have access to an assessment bank that is equitable and reputable. And that's what our teachers use. And they all have different resources within each of those, as I mentioned. And so then the predictive assessment benchmarks, which Ms. Williams shared with you last week, is only specifically purchased for our EOC courses. The reason being is because that's where we're reported on for the state report card, of course. And the benchmarks are designed, they're not targeted to the state test. They are actually cumulative from the first benchmark to the second, and they're just predictive in nature, meaning in that, so they're taking a benchmark right now that is covering 75% of the content for the course, but it's going to give a predictive score of where that student is likely to perform on the actual EOC in the spring. And the purpose for those is to help our teachers refine the content they have already delivered and to plan in advance for content that the students are already indicative of mastery versus some that are showing a weakness that they might have already assumed they would perform better in based on prior knowledge. I will use biology for an example. Biology students have prior exposure to the ecology units in middle school, and so teachers typically expect that based on this benchmark, they will show greater mastery in that particular subset of standards. However, if the teacher sees a particular class is uniquely weak, then they know that they have to pre-plan for that when they get to the ecology unit, which is actually done at the end of the semester, because with time constraints, they do it last because students have had prior knowledge of that content, so based on the pacing out. So that's going to lead me into our data analysis protocol, which is the how and the why and the what for the assessments, formative and summative. And so what that does is we ask the teachers to really sit down with their teams and reflect on their individual classes. Specifically, how many students performed at the A, B, C, D, E, F levels. We identify the number. They then identify what, based on these specific formative or summative assessments, did the students do well? What do we know worked? What strategies were implemented for this particular class that maybe another class performed weakly in? So, Ms. Whitkin, what did you do so well because my students struggled in this particular area? We then notice what weaknesses are addressed. And then we identify any trends across the board, whether it was the students as a whole or individual classes. And as a team, decide on what ways to reteach, what intervention strategies need to be put in place. And then the most important piece of that is how are we reteaching, what are we using to measure the growth thereafter, and what are our next steps to come back together to determine if mastery was met, and sometimes it's not with the second go round, and then what are we doing again. This leads to a lot of spiral review. I'll target algebra classes, algebra 1 and 2, with the spiral review all throughout the semester because are such building blocks with their standards. And so if it's not constantly a spiral review and students forget some simple formulas or simple steps earlier on, then it's going to lead to weaknesses later on with the content standards. So I wanted to specify that these assessments are designed for the standards, not the tests themselves. And so you hear the word assessment and it sounds cumbersome, but a lot of these are quick, short bell ringer questions, exit tickets, very, very informal things that show whether you got it today or you didn't. And so sometimes we have a conversation on a three-question exit ticket, and 80% of the class, for whatever reason, did not get it that day. So how are we coming back to the drawing board for next week? And that's it in a nutshell. So there's a lot of information, and so now if you have any questions or if you'd like any clarification, I'll be glad to elaborate as best I can.
Ms. Keller did an excellent job. I know you're not far removed from the classroom, so all of this is very real to you. It's not something you had to prepare. And I particularly appreciate how you mentioned the staff development and all the things the teachers are doing to work together to get the students, where they need to be. I was interested when you mentioned the State Department, PLOs. Is that where our instructional coach helps us from the State Department, or how do y'all connect?
Yes, so Ms. Malls has been in conversations with us throughout. She also has connections that she has put us in touch with, and she sends us resources that she thinks would be applicable for us specifically, but then she also shares, information, and she's had colleagues reach out to me directly and say, hey, I talked to Monique this week, and this might be something that you all would like to look further into.
Thank you. I was hoping that was where we were getting that connection. And at the conference this week, I know some of the schools like ours or districts like ours are highlighted, and we'll be able to hear and see what other districts are doing. So it's good to know what we're doing and the support that we get through the State Department. Any other feedback or questions?
As to your PLC meetings, they're weekly. Is your school structured so that the people teaching the same courses have the same planning periods, or do they have to meet after school? Because I've been in PLCs with people from other things that didn't make any sense to me.
So the only courses that actually have common planning are our end of course classes. So those 4 sections have common planning and they meet weekly. Other courses are given the autonomy to determine when they meet. Some meet before school, some meet after. And then they all have a bi-weekly whole department PLC, and then they also break off within that department time to meet, because some of our teachers, I would say some, majority of our teachers teach multiple preps, and so based on our GBC setup and guidelines, they pick a priority PLC, meaning the course that they feel needs, that they either need the most development or support with, or that they feel is the course that is the priority in terms of content and instruction. It's kind of difficult to clarify that way, but with the department bi-weekly meeting is where they get to engage with the other group of teachers that is not their priority PLC.
I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
Sorry, should have asked Ms. Strobel first before I spoke. Madam Chair. Ms. Keller, I just want to say thank you. A lot of the explanation really was helpful, and it was really, the reason it was questioned was because of the end of those benchmarks. And so just wanted to try to pick your brain a little bit as you gave us a lot of information about all the instruction and also the assessments. What is your, we've got new English standards, we're looking at new math standards, which will affect those algebra EOCs. Just trying to understand, is this benchmark really working for us? Is it helpful for the instructional team to be able to use to guide towards that EOC, or do you find that the other instruments are more helpful?
So I'm going to say this, and this is probably a bit premature because this is the first real semester that we've been able to implement the first and second benchmark with time to look at the predictive scores. But based on the fall semester's feedback, yes. I will tell you that with the second benchmark predictor, and we did see a dip in the 2 subject areas. However, based on actual EOC scores, the English 2 scored better, as did Algebra 1, and I firmly believe it is because of the indicated weaknesses on the benchmarks that the teachers were able to design their review based on those specific standards and to target and remediate, and we saw improvement based upon that feedback from those benchmarks.
Thanks for that.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Mr. Earl,
I'm good.
any other questions for the board or on this color or feedback? We appreciate you providing specific answers for questions that were asked last week. And Ms. Bodson, thank you for being here to provide support. Anybody that wants to go over a visit, I'm sure you can schedule with Ms. Bodson or Ms. Kohler to go visit and see in action what a process this is to get our students where they need to be. Thank you.
I too want to echo Chair
Strobel, thank you, Principal Bobson, for your support. Thank you, Ms. Keller, for your presentation. And I just want to say that all of our schools have a very focused instructional focus. I just want to thank as leaders for making sure that that is happening in our schools every day, because our core purpose is teaching and learning. That's why we exist. Thank you. Okay, the next part of my presentation is I have overnight field trips to ask for your approval of, and we have 4 trips. The first one is a state track event that will occur April 11th through April 12th, and the trip sponsor is Mr. Sean Johnson from TCTC. There will be 50 students attending and 5 adults. The next trip is the South Carolina FFA Agricultural Mechanics and Meats Evaluation. And this trip is sponsored by Ms. Robin Lutton. There are 8 students and 2 adults attending. This will be in Clemson, South Carolina, and the first one, is in Columbia, South Carolina. The next trip is also a South Carolina FFA camp, and this one is being held in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Trip sponsor is Robin Lutton, 13 students and 2 adults. And then the last one is the FFA State Convention, which will occur in Greenville, South Carolina, June 16th through June 19th. Trip sponsor is Ms. Robin Lutton, 12 students, 2 adults.
Board, would you like there are 4 trips here before us. They were sent to us to review. Ms. Williams has just given us the highlights. Would you like that to be one motion or separate?
One would be fine. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept all 4 field trips as presented by the superintendent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We appreciate the staff getting those in on time and early and processing those so that we can approve. And we have 4 trips to approve for our students to get these opportunities. A motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair, I just want to share that the reason that these come before the board is because they are overnight field trips. These are learning opportunities for our students and for logistic and liability reasons, because it is an overnight situation. That's why the information comes before the board for review. I just want to thank the staff for their effort to provide learning opportunities or outside the classroom. That's something that really, these are details that the board has to look at, again, in an oversight capacity. But we really are excited to hear about these learning opportunities. Appreciate the staff to go above and beyond to provide those opportunities. But to recognize it's not just for staff that are, not for just students, but staff too are engaged in professional development occurring within their area of specialty. So just encourage those that present these to us on a regular basis and want to give some explanation on some of the why.
Thank you. And we know it takes our adults personal time to commit to these things. So whenever we are talking about the budget and travel is always appreciated when there are opportunities for students. And we know you go above and beyond. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the 4 overnight field trips that were presented to us, show of right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Williams, and those that prepare those reports for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Stewart. The next part of my report is the Human Resources Report, and you have no additional updates from last week, but if you have any remaining questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you.
Can we check our mic, please? Can we check our mic, please? Go back over that part, please, Ms. Williams, after our field trips.
Yes, the Human Resources Report, there are no additional updates. However, if you have any lingering questions from last week, we'll be happy to answer those for you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. We just want to be available as you are hiring for staff. Just make sure those things come before us, and we don't want it ever be a holdup that you need a board approval for hiring.
Superintendent Williams, if I can, I know we've talked about this several times. When is the board going to be presented the data from the learning labs, the listening labs that HR is doing?
Yes, so the listening labs, they have 1 additional department left to finish, and we will be able to provide that information to you at the March board meeting.
And hearing that, Ms. Williams, if there is an opportunity, I know that information, some of that information may be presented in open session, some may not, just consideration for differentiation between the committee of the whole and the regular board meeting, if that information is substantial and, long, that we can kind of space out between those 2 meetings.
Most definitely.
Thank you.
And also, as soon as possible, what information can be given so that, opinions or things that are given to us as troubleshooting or ideas or praise, that we can move quickly on things. So don't wait if you can give us what information you can.
Okay.
So we want our staff to know we appreciate your time.
Yes. Any additional questions concerning HR? Okay. The finance report, there are no additional updates for finance. However, if you have any additional questions for Ms. Barrett, she'll be happy to answer those questions for you.
Madam Chair, at this time, I'd like Ms. Barrett to step forward. I just want to personally thank her for the outstanding job she did with her and her staff in preparing for the audit, doing the audit, and all that she had to do. I want to personally thank her for that.
Thank you, Mr. Murray, for bringing that attention, and last week, we appreciate the audit report and the good report that was given, and we thanked our staff then, but thank you for thanking them again. We appreciated the comments that he gave in the audit for the cooperation of the staff, and we made recognition of that. So let minutes reflect, we echo that again this week.
If I may, I just want to say I'm looking forward to the priority work session that we've got coming up. And I know that under consideration soon, in addition to our budget, is our county's budget. So I look forward to hearing opportunities for our discussion about if we continue to increase local revenue to support the operations of our school district by our
Yes, and just to let you know, Chair Whitkin, Mrs. Barrett is in conversation with the county now to pinpoint a date that the district can go to the county to have these discussions, and I will let you know as soon as she is able to pinpoint a date.
And as board members, we are constantly watching what our state is providing us as far as updates on how we are going to fund that $3,000 cell increase that is being proposed. So, thank you, Ms. Barrett and Ms. Williams, for continuing to update us on that stuff.
Thank you. And this is my report.
Moving on, our agenda, Ms. Williams, academic and student affairs, our core purpose is teaching.
Madam Chair, excuse me, before Superintendent sits down, I one question for clarification purposes, not a question. I know myself and other board members have been approached just recently in the past week in reference to our graduation. And I just want to clarify for all of our parents, the board does not set the graduation. That is the principal. So there's some confusion. I think some people still think that we set those dates and times and when and where and how. We don't have that involvement. So I just want to clarify that for the community. Also, that being said, I know that we just recently had a meeting with the community about graduation. For whatever reasons, I don't know that we got it out to all the parents. I know we are planning another one. If we could get that information out to our senior class parents as soon as possible with dates and put it on our webpage, would be greatly appreciated.
Most definitely, and thank you for that, Mr. Stagner. Another meeting is being planned, and I will make sure to let Principal Bonison know to make sure she gets that out as soon as possible, so that parents will be able to attend and get all the information they need for graduation.
I want to echo what Mr. Stagner said, because we're hit often in the grocery store or church. We've talked about that. So everyone looks to us as if we have that decision-making power, and that is a function of the school. But as we just had the parent forum representative present, parents, this is, be engaged and attend and learn and know, and we'll try to do our best to communicate. But it's a team effort, so I hope everyone will be involved.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. If we can get those dates on our agenda and get it on our communication as soon as possible, so that everyone can be informed. Thank you, Trustee Stockenberg and others, making sure that we are communicating with our staff and community about events. So we're looking at item 10, our academic and student affairs. Our core purpose is teaching and learning, and we would like to move on to 10.01. Ms. Williams, do we have any other information from curriculum?
Dr. Jenkins, she will stand. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Madam Chair, Vice Chair, school board members, Superintendent Williams, you have a copy of my report from the Division of Academics, the Student Affairs. At this time, I don't have any updates, however, I will gladly entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions for the report of curriculum instruction? Okay, thank you. Thank you for providing that to us.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 10.02, I appreciate that the high school is able to show the support we get through our state technical support in the report they gave. So let the minutes reflect that our state instructional coach was provided as part of the professional development with the high school's EOC and benchmark data. Item 11 on our agenda is operational management. A safe, secure, positive environment will be conducive for teaching and learning. Ms. Williams, do we have other information for the board to receive?
Dr. Wright?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the board, Superintendent Williams. You also have the report from the Division of Operations from last week. I'm here to entertain any questions that are coming from the governance team of the Carlton County School District at this time related to operational management.
Any updates? Any questions?
I'll ask a question. I know that our Black Street Early Childhood Center, that roof was replaced in the fall, correct? So, no, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you this ahead of time, but when that case, this fall is completed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Wick.
The roof at Black Street was completed in the fall, is that correct?
The roof repair that you were
Just
referencing?
repair, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just
Yes,
repair.
ma'am.
Thank you for that,
Yes,
appreciate it. I'll ask you a question. Thank you.
One follow-up, if I may,
Yes.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. I think maybe back in December, I informed the governance team that we will be conducting a clean air quality assessment on Black Street for the Childhood Center as well as Carlton County High School. And the assessment results stated that we do not have an air quality issue coming from those two schools. It is so small and so minute, it wouldn't even be enough to report. And that information was delivered to those principals of those schools, verbally and via email. So I just want to give the board an update on that clean air quality that I made mention to you maybe in November or December of 2024.
Madam Chair, if I may. Dr. Wright, is the air conditioner in the superintendent's suite fixed?
That answer is still no.
Last week, we had a discussion that we were looking at the controls on that. Do we have any update yet?
Yes, ma'am. Our consultant in collaboration with the office, we've been working since we last spoke last week to get in contact with the vendor. And we're simply just still waiting on the vendor to send us a quote so that we can move on with a purchase order. We will not authorize any vendor to work in the school district without going through the proper fiscal process to get approved. I can tell you with absolute certainty that the consultant that I assigned to that project has been relentless on my behalf in contacting the vendor just to get the quote in from their supervisor so we can move forward with getting the product. As we understand it from our discussion, they may have the product in office, but until they give us a quote and we're able to establish a purchase order, we can't move forward with telling them to come fix it.
So we're in process?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And any updates on the bleachers?
We are in the last stage of those bleachers. We have facilitated a closure of the electrical panel on our end for this as of today. The Division of Operational Management, Buildings and Grounds has gone in and done our component in terms of establishing the electrical connection. What we are waiting, and we have established since last Friday, is that the company will come back this coming Friday and to check the connection, make sure the bleachers on both sides are operating as usual. I would say, Madam Chair, that as an organization, we have taken a stance until it is corrected. We don't move forward with anything else until it is corrected in Colleton County School District.
Thank you. We look forward to the budget process and the new capital projects and the things that we want to get on the timelines for the roof warranties and those projects. I know you're working on those, so we look forward
Yes,
to
ma'am.
those reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions, feedback on operations? Thank you. Moving on, we're nearing the point where we need to go into executive session. You can see that we have 4 topics that we need to discuss in the back. We may need some action when we come out, but definitely some things we need to discuss to move forward. So I'll entertain a motion that we enter into executive session.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to enter into executive session for items number 12.01, discussion of employment matters, already hiring, separation, resignations. 12.02, student attendance releases, South Carolina Code of Laws. 12.03, discussion and receipt of legal advice on policy BDD, board superintendent relationship. Policy 12.04, discussion and receipt of legal advice on property contractual matters.
A motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second that we enter into executive session. Any discussion? All those in favor, right hand. You? Motion carried. We will enter into executive session. We appreciate all of you being here. When we come back, we'll take any action that's needed. Have a good evening.